Welcome to another informative episode of Breeding Cash. This week we are talking about livestock feeds, and so we are going to talk to Sigma Feeds later in the show, who forms part of our experts' voice, because we are going to compare the modern ways and the traditional ways of feeding livestock. Which one is better? Now, we are going to learn more about that, but at the moment, let's have a look at livestock in perspective. Dairy farming has grown tremendously in the last couple of years. From being a hobby activity, dairy farming in Kenya has been transformed into a full-blown business venture. There are more than enough examples of people making more than a good living from dairy farming.
So somehow I said, if I can start my own dairy farm, manage cow well, the end product is milk, because it's dairy cows. The end product is milk. Then I will be in business. We share what we know about cows, and we have raised several farms. For you to get milk, and not only milk, but quality milk, you have to address a lot of issues. That includes the breeding of the cows, the feeding itself, which is now the part of business, is the input versus output. Yes. What you feed the cow versus what the cow is producing.
For maximum milk production, a farmer should first learn to feed the cows as required before buying high-producing cows. Many farmers end up with diminished milk production after spending a lot of money buying quality breeds, but fail when it comes to feeding them. To ensure that you gain maximum profits from your dairy venture, make sure you drive the cost of feeds down. Report by Africa Food Security Conference 2015, the main cost in dairy farming in Kenya is from animal feeds, which accounts to between 40 to 60% of the total costs. There are several ways in which farmers can drive the costs down. For example, planting their own food if there is enough land available. Farmers can also make their own concentrates such as dairy meal. This will significantly reduce the cost of farming. There are new technologies that help reduce the cost of feeds for dairy farming in Kenya, such as hydroponics fodder. It's in no doubt that dairy farming has greatly evolved over the last 1 decade. In this particular episode, we shall focus on livestock feeds formulated and designed to improve productivity and animal health. These include calf rations, lactating and dry cow supplements, and minerals.
Sigma Feeds, if I may start, we're 31 years in the market. So with the experience, with the vast experience that we have, we feel that we have a lot to offer the farmers today. We have come to showcase premium quality products. We are manufacturing animal feeds, manufacturing and distributing countrywide. Not just animal feeds, but also equipments, poultry equipment, dairy equipment, the whole works. It's a one-stop for the Kenyan farmer today.
So you've talked of poultry, you've talked of animal feeds as well.
The feeds that we are manufacturing are actually poultry feeds, dairy feeds, pet food, which are actually coming up with a very big investment regarding to that, and also specialty feeds, mineral supplements, etc., etc.
And now, because you have been in this region, because you are based in Juja, what are some of the challenges that you are finding having a common place with the farmers first?
Actually, one of the challenges that the farmers are having, and I've actually had like 4 classes interacting with the farmers today, is one, accessing good quality products. Lack of proper technical information that will assist them actually maximize output or achieve production from their livestock, be it layer farming, broiler farming, or dairy farming. And also the technical expertise, after sales service, advisory services at the farm level, so that we can be able to work with the farmer in their various livestock projects.
Okay, let's go to the first product that you have about broilers. What do you have, and how is that effective when it comes to using that now in the farm?
With the experience that we've had, we've actually come up and formulated a specialty broiler product, which we are calling the pelleted broiler feeds. broiler starter crumbs, and broiler finisher pellets. With the kind of formulation that we have, farmers are being able to achieve what we call the 5-week miracle.
5-week miracle, tell me more about that. Sounds quite interesting.
5-week miracle. Normally, in normal circumstances, broiler farming is done for 42 days. That is 6 weeks. But we are able, with our feed, farmers are being able to achieve the required weights within 35 days. So we are actually saving a farmer a whole week, and where these broilers are growing fast, according to their genetic output, and the farmer is able to maximize on the returns via the profits.
Let's go to the details of this formulation, because talking of 5-day miracle, and by that 5 days the broilers are fed, then there must be something about this formulation.
Yes.
What's the secret?
Let me start from one. Sigma Feeds sources its raw materials with a lot of we are very particular and careful with where we source our raw materials. For example, we are using first grade maize that you and I can eat. That is actually we are using in the formulation of our broiler feed. The production team, led by the nutritionists, are very particular with where they are sourcing their raw materials. Moving on from the quality raw materials that we're using, the production process from the machinery, state-of-the-art machinery that Sigma is using, to the supervision by our technically qualified production team to ensure that the whole production process is going very well. For example, like with the starter crumbs, which we're telling the farmers, and that's the class that I had today, where they're using them from day 1 up to day 18. We're not just producing, but we're also advising them on how to use the product.
On how to use the product.
On how to use the product.
That brings me now to the other point that I would really like to ask you about the affordability of your product.
Yes.
Because now it seems like it's effective and very efficient. How affordable is your product?
What we have done is that, one, nothing good comes easy, and we are communicating so to the farmer. The other message that we're communicating to the farmer is that cheap can be expensive, cheap can be costly. Our products are affordable. And when I say affordable, yes, the farmer will be left with profits at the end of the project, starting from the start to the finish. Because in line with our motto, start right, finish fast. Product is affordable.
Amazing. Now, moving away from the broilers feeds to dairy. I know you have calf pellets and all that. Can you take me through some of the products that you have for dairy?
For the dairy line, we have what we call the early winner calf pellets, and we are advising the farmer how to use from what stage to what stage. We also have what we call the young stock pencils, and we are also telling them how to use the product to achieve maximum results. Coming into the lactations period, we have what we call the standard dairy meal. And of course, we're telling them this standard dairy meal is to be used by cows producing from so much to so much. We have what we call the high yield dairy meal. And of course, in line with being innovative, we have what we call the high yield dairy cubes. We are actually shifting farmers from the usual to try and adapt to the new technology of using dairy cubes, for example, as one of the products that Sigma Feeds is actually launching out into the market.
And now lastly, I know you also do something concerning fish. Tell me more about fish farming.
Yes. Sigma has invested in a state-of-the-art extrusion plant. And once we actually launch it, we will invite our partners, our strategic partners, to actually come and witness and share with us. We will be manufacturing extruded floating fish pellets. This is the first and the only kind of machinery in East and Central Africa. We have invested in technology. We have invested in the technical resource to actually run with that technology.
Now, going to the details, fish farming is more like a new concept. So how are you making sure that the farmers embrace this idea, maybe in terms of cost and all that? What are you using as the bait to get the farmers to embrace this kind of farming?
Number one, before the farmer invests in the fish farming, they need to be assured of markets. Markets is actually what drives production. That is what I normally say. You cannot get into something, a farmer cannot invest in a farming project, and doesn't know where the produce is going to go to. It's not wise. We advise against it. So number one is the markets. We are actually advising farmers on the potential markets, and we have done our research. We have done our due diligence, and we'll confidently be able to tell the farmer, this is where your market can or will be.
Apart from the market, these farmers come to you every day for advice and all that. What are some of the other challenges that you find, farmers struggling with, and how are you overcoming those challenges as well?
Some of the challenges the farmers also have, other than the market, is the capacity in terms of financial resource to be able to invest in such projects, sustaining projects. Here we are talking about land, for example. We're talking about the inputs that are needed in fish farming. So what we're doing as an entity is that we have actually partnered with strategic partnerships where we are able to actually direct a farmer to a financial institution.
So financial, then he or she can maybe get loan.
Exactly.
Now, lastly,
Yes.
and most important,
Yes.
I see you are dealing with broilers, you
Yes.
have poultry and
Yes.
dairy.
Yes.
If a farmer is to engage in one of those businesses or practices, what are some of the key things that he must consider, starting with broilers, then dairy, then fish?
I tell a farmer, broiler, very good question, broiler, dairy and fish. I always start with a market. For example, broiler, you're bringing in broilers and in 5 weeks, you're supposed to sell them. Where will you sell them? For it to be a commercial viable enterprise, you need to know where you're going to sell them. We are giving farmers the solution. Because number one, we have a strategic partnership whereby we are also doing contract farming, where a farmer will buy the chicks, will actually buy the feed from us, and we will show them the markets where they're going to take the chicken from. So that completes the chain. It gives the farmer confidence to invest in that. Dairy, we as Sigma have our own dairy farm, Ole Ngishu Dairy Farm. One, we are conducting information. Information is power. The challenges that we're having here is that some farmers don't have the technical know-how to actually make or sustain dairy farming as an economic business enterprise. We have the technology whereby as we are informing them, as we are teaching them in our technical dairy institutes as a farm, we are also directing them to the latest trends or latest innovation in terms of the feed. For example, we have what we call the dairy cubes, for example. This actually is to assist the farmers' livestock consume, produce maximum output, and not just produce maximum output, but also still sustain the quality of the milk in terms of, for example, the butterfat content, and reduce the cost of producing a liter of milk. Everybody is doing a dairy meal, for example. We are showing them high-yield dairy cubes. Feed less, save on less feed wastage, maximize on production, which automatically means more profits.
Now, lastly, about fish. Very clear about broilers, you have to consider the market. For dairy, you have to consider what you are feeding your animals with. Now, lastly, fish.
In fact, if I'm to add there, for any particular livestock farming that you're going to, you have to consider your market, you have to consider the quality of the feeds that you're using. And I emphasize and I say, we have so many millers out there. Some are offering cheap prices. Cheap is not always the best. Consider the quality. Consider the technical support that you're getting from the organization and the information and the assistance that you're getting. If I come back to fish farming, the Kenyan market, we're actually importing fish. There is demand for fish in our country. So I'm encouraging the farmer out there. If you have the resource or if you want to consider, fish is potential, and we as Sigma have identified that, and we are getting into that, and we are going to support whoever is going to work with us on that particular scale.
Well, I do hope that you've learned something concerning the best feeds that you can use to maximize your output. And now that brings us to the end of our show, but you can always give us feedback. Tell us what you think concerning the stories that we featured today, and also the stories that you'd like to see in our next episode. See you again next week.